Hello everyone.
Hey,
Welcome
everybody.
to another Tuesday night No Life Beekeepers chat.
Tuesday night.
Brad's got to go shortly, so
Mr. Tuesday night right there.
Mr. Tuesday, at least for now, until the job comes in, and then we
Yeah,
don't
I've
know.
got a little bit of time I can spend. I have a meeting later on. So,
And by
hey, everybody.
later on, we mean in like 29 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and paste the link for any willing participants. Because otherwise, I don't like to talk to the chat box. It will be extremely short stream. It might only be 29 more minutes. So it's one of those things, we do what we do.
So, I have some good news.
Okay,
I
spill it.
finished assembling my little bottom boards for my mini nukes. So,
So I really think that could be another avenue of income for you.
well,
That's just my feelings.
I think it's a nice little project. Build them up and then I'll put them on the marketplace, and I think I'll use some of them myself. I've got, I think, 66 bottom boards there, so I've got something to work with. And I don't have to build 66 boxes. I can build 20 boxes. I've just got
Right?
bottom
Just what
boards
you
to go
need,
with
right?
them. Yeah,
In force.
in fours.
You get
Yeah,
to
they
my
should be
increments of
purchased
force.
in the groups of four.
The
But I'll
that's
draw some out this year, and then if somebody wants to buy one or two, then that's okay.
it's a it's for me. I think it's really interesting how uh you guys by you guys I mean
Use guys.
by Canadians, right? Uh like both you and Ian do the two deeps over three mediums or four minis over a deep type of thing, right? So just a different variation on basically well, what Randy Oliver does. Is it Randy Oliver or who does the Queen Castle? Always
Mike Palmer, I think you're
Michael
talking about.
Palmer. That's it. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of.
Well,
Um,
see, and in what Mike Palmer's doing, it's a great system, but it still is separate nukes all the way up, kind of thing, right?
right.
But you mentioned that this two 10 frames over three 6 frames. I think that's a really interesting little study in that, because I used to do uh, a stack of 10 framers over top of two 10 frame boxes, so it would only overlap half the way, and then I'd have a little lid on the side where I could access the brood chamber. I did that so I could access the uh, the drone frame for pulling out and for varroa control. That's why I did that. Um, but I digress. What I was going to say is it's kind of a neat little study uh, that um, when the bees go up from the brood chamber to the honey super, they do mostly go straight up, but they don't squabble at all. Like it's just fine
The workers
to
don't
share.
squabble in the honey supers.
Yeah, yeah,
However,
no, there's
I
not a
found
problem
out the
there.
hard way if you lose a queen, they're
Yeah,
probably not making another one.
yeah, that's the biggest problem, is that the pheromone is strong enough between the different units that generally one of those units, if it goes queenless, it won't requeen. Doug says, "Are you selling with frames?" I intend to. Yes, I intend to make frames for the boxes once I'm done the boxes. I've done the bottom boards. I have to make the boxes and the lids, and so I'll probably make the boxes next, and then either do the lids or fill them with frames.
So they're basically half frames.
They're yeah, they're just a little less than half. Um, you can get. I cut this foundation when I like they're medium depth, so I cut the foundation actually in three pieces, and that leaves, I don't know, maybe an inch on each side of the foundation between there and the end bar. That has caused a problem that I've ever noticed. Uh, and I know a guy, when he does it, he cuts two pieces out of that foundation, and then he has a chunk left over. Um,
Right.
So it's just personal preference. It just costs a little bit more to make a full sheet in there.
So when you first start that I about spoke Canadian process for a minute
Process.
instead of process.
Process.
Are you just basically taking a deep and putting down a queen excluder and then putting the 4 boxes on top to get that comb drawn out?
Absolutely. Because these little minis are exactly 1/4 the size of a 10 frame box, then I just take 4 of them, deck them out on top of the queen excluder, and then it's just a honey super. Hey, Mike.
It might,
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Good, good. Tired, but good. So that it'll just be honey super, and then it's kind of a bit fussy, but I'll take those at extracting time, and I'll just uncap them with a bread knife and stand them in my radial extractor, and
yes,
then I've
because
got
they're
these.
the width, they're the depth of a deep. They still fit well in your extractor.
Yeah, they're they're a medium depth. That they're only, the top bar is 9 inches, I think.
They're just not as
So
tall, but
right, I find that I have to put them between deeps, between full size frames, just so they don't fall over. But so I can do, half a load of minis at a time, and it does take a while. But once I've got that done, boy, you've got all of those minis all drawn, so that really puts you miles ahead the next season. And even if you had only, say 2 or 3 of those frames out of 5 drawn, you're still way far ahead.
right.
Yeah. And it's not hard to do. It just takes you an extra season.
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, because you don't pull them off ahead of time to extract out and then put them back on, right? You just keep
and
stacking.
and then once they're drawn too, then the next season you can put those 4 back on your brood chamber, and the queen can come up in there and lay some brood in there. So I mean, that's total magic when it comes to taking that with some bees and anchoring the bees to it
Yeah,
when
then
you
you could
move it.
just essentially then you could just move the whole thing over and drop it on the bottom board with the lid, and it's a basically a walkaway split.
Right, and that's why I like to have the little entrance disc, because then I can just turn that and put it on the bottom board, and I'll
Bob's your uncle.
put it in my cold building for a couple nights. And Bob's your uncle. That's right. The only thing you want to make sure your queen's not in there when you move it.
Well, I mean, you can also, if you're just starting out, right? You could just basically shake bees in it, like a package,
Yeah,
put a
you can.
cell, close it up, give them some feed, and they're going to draw the comb if they
Yeah.
need the feed. I mean,
When
if
you're
it's not
using the minis, it's handy to have those little tiny QMP strips, the queen
right,
mandibular pheromone. What is it called? The only one's I ever bought it. It's a Man Lake product.
man, like you.
It's Temp Queen. That's what it's called, Temp Queen. And they're actually about that long. It looks like a tiny glow stick or a little glue stick. Um, I cut them in two actually for using in a mini, and it works just fine. I actually stapled it to a small piece of wood. Actually, it wasn't stapled. I hot glued it to a small piece of wood so I don't lose it, and I can
Right.
just set it on the top bars. And
How
I
long do
talked
those
to.
QMP strips last?
I've had them for years. I keep them in the freezer, and if you wonder if it's any good, you just take it and set it on top of a hive in your bee yard. In 5 minutes, it'll be covered in bees.
Yeah,
So
the
then
mini mating
you
nukes,
know that's
DC.
then it's got some pheromone in it yet.
What's up with Big Mike?
Oh, just sanding and painting boxes.
Sanding and painting.
That's
Wow.
right. I do not like playing a box, Brad.
Well, I don't either, but
I have to
just
sand every
sanding
box.
and planing are two of the most thrilling things ever, aren't they?
I get to listen to podcasts from you.
Yeah. Well, for me, I thought you'd listen to something interesting.
It is interesting to me. I was
I don't
actually
mind painting. It, you know.
I painted up 15 two-way mini mating nukes today.
Oh yeah. Do yours have the removable divider so you can turn it into one unit if you want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have the 4-ways that can be gone into 2-ways, and then I stack them up.
Right. I made a bunch of 4-ways a few years back, and I used them. They worked just fine. I didn't care for the units that had more than one section. I've done that in a few different uh, times. I've had my double fives, where you put a divider in a 10-frame box and you have your double fives. I've done that a lot. I just don't like that. Just the way
Yeah.
I manage, it just kind of locks me down.
I winter them over in them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to eventually do. I want to winter queens in these little 5-frame minis. I've done it, and I know you can do it. It works. So it's a good way to end up with fresh queens in the spring. Well, as fresh as possible, because we don't have that. We can't raise queens very early here, and I can always make way more queens in the summer than I can use.
Just
So
need places to hide them.
leave them in the minis.
Yeah.
Need places to hide them. That's right.
DC's Bees had a video out today. He made some pollen patty up.
Oh yeah.
It was a good video. I watched some of it today. So if you are getting ready to make some pollen patty, check out his video.
Right on. I will.
Let's see. They're talking about swarm traps and buckets. So news with my job. It was not good news necessarily for me, but it was news all the same. I got a call from the HR department yesterday, and they were only allowed to have 10 people in the class that starts in the middle of the month, and I was number 11, so I got bumped to the beginning of next month. But I'm on call basically for the class on the 18th. If somebody decides not to take the job, then I will be the next person up to come in. So could be 2 weeks, could be 4 weeks. So apparently I still have a job. The only problem is that it's just bump payout 2 more weeks, right? So we'll just keep that crisis going a little bit longer. Hey, if the federal government can run out of deficit, I guess Bob can too for a couple months. Been a few right now, so working on it.
I'm sorry to hear that, Bob. We were all rooting for you. Sorry to hear that.
The thing that makes me upset about it is I've already waited 6 weeks on this job, right? So I haven't really looked for any other opportunities in the meanwhile because I was planning to start this job. And now they bumped me out 2 weeks, but it's kind of short to find a job and start quicker than 2 weeks anyway. So there's nothing to do but wait, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe somebody won't show, but we'll see. If maybe they've been waiting 8 weeks and they've found something in the meanwhile. Who knows? It's just one of those crazy things. But it's what you do. It's what you got to do. Yeah, I guess you're still covered in snow, Mike.
Yeah, there's still quite a bit out there. You can see the landing boards. These are flying on the good days.
Yeah, today wasn't a very good day. It was warm, but it was all overcast. I was planning to go out there, and then I looked out the window and I'm like, no, my bees are mean enough when it's nice out. I don't need to add any insult to injury. So
I'm going to dig the snow boots out tomorrow and bring some Hive Alive out to the nukes and check them out and slap some on if it needs.
Do you see DC's question there or comment?
Yeah, just type an answer to him.
Okay.
So, well, since we're talking about it, then his climate is so much different than mine, and I would even venture to say his climate is more harsh than mine as far as wintering bees because of the humidity, etc. I can insulate hives. I can bring them into a building. I can do so much, and the fact that my winter goes, full winter for months and months, and then it starts to warm up. It doesn't go back and forth. But DC deals with humidity, and I have no idea how you deal with humidity in hives like that. Like that Pacific Northwest is just, I've lived up there, and it is like a rainforest. So, that's the caveat that I can't really answer the question. You know, for me, it would work. And I was also making the point that he used the term banking, and for what I'm doing with these minis, I wouldn't call that banking because typically, if you're banking queens, that involves putting multiple caged queens into a hive with bees. I've never done that. I don't know the details to be successful. These minis are just a little colony. It's just a little hive like anything else, and you treat it just like anything else. I know a queen producer near me who does it, and I asked him for advice the year I was going to try it, and I said, "What's how do you prepare these for winter?" And he just said, "Just like everything else, feed them up, put them to bed."
I've banked queens, but only for a couple days at a time, not extended periods. More because I was working and the queens would come in the afternoon, and by the time I got back, I would put some in nukes and run out of daylight, and then have to bank them until the next opportunity. And it might rain one day or something like that, but generally not over about 2 days that I've banked them.
Yeah.
So it's and I've had luck, and then the last time I did it, I didn't have luck. So it's like anything else. I think it's just if the bees decide they don't like to be a queen bank, they don't take care of the queens. But typically what I've found is when I have put like the battery strips of queens in a hive, the bees will come up and cover it. And in our mind, at least my mind, it was, oh, they're taking care of it. And then you come back 2 days later and all the queens are toast, right? And it's like, well, they stopped taking care of them at some point.
Yeah. I've not I've not done it successfully. It's just not something I do. To me, the thought of putting a queen in a cage and leaving her in there all winter, I just don't like that idea. She's running around in there trying to get out the whole time.
It'd be my luck. I put her in the center and they all moved over to the right and left her sitting in the cage or something.
Yeah,
just
you never know.
Luck. Have you banked queens long, Mike? Or you typically get them and put them right in?
I just put them in nukes. If I need a nuke, I use it.
Yeah, that's what I've done in the past, Mark. I've put them on the, actually over the open brood, right? Usually there's a deep full of bees, and then I put a second deep, or they're usually a second deep. I'll take out the center frames that aren't being used, or the frames that aren't being used, and split them apart and set them right on top. So they just usually come right up, take care of them. But again, I've only done it for a couple days at a time. It hadn't been any real extended periods that has happened. So, and then it's the timing when they come in, right? Last time I did that with queens, it was late in the season and they weren't having it. So
that's typical. The queens never arrive quite on the time that you want them. It's like, oh, I don't know if my nuke's done yet, or something, or it's pouring rain, or
something always happens, comes up.
Something always happens. Yeah.
We just adapt and keep it moving.
I am going to have to leave you to it.
All right. Well, enjoy your meeting.
My short time with you, and we'll have to go. We're having our association novice session tonight. We gather together with some more experienced members and some leave it open to all the membership, but it's geared toward the novice people, just to give them an idea what they're looking at for the next 60 days in their bees. I just thought it would be a good offering for the membership to give them value in the association.
Sure.
So,
all right. We'll see you later.
Thanks for hosting. Good night, everybody.
So, Mike, you've been on several times, and I don't know that we've had a deep dive in Big Mike's honey. Tonight may be the night. What is so obviously you've been on the stream before and we appreciate you coming, but how many colonies did you put away into winter?
Just over 140.
140. And do you have any idea at this point how many survivors versus losses you have?
No.
No.
I know I've looked in 24 of the production. And just
And
looking
they're all-
down the whole, I could see bees in 20 of them. But if they weren't in the center, I wouldn't have seen them anyways. There wasn't one. I haven't been back out.
So just assuming that carries along, and you're still looking at what, 25% loss? If those were in fact dead, the ones that you looked at?
Yeah, I don't know that it's that high, you know.
But it's something I think,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot going on right now with people talking about their losses, and I get it, right? I lose them every year. I think everybody does to some degree, you know. What's too much, right? And what's, well, for me, one I think is actually too much, right? I don't like to lose one. But I'm pretty much at the same percentage that I always am. A lot of people, you know, I've seen people say they've lost the majority of them, and then the same people that have lost the majority of them this year have a couple years ago lost them all. So it's like, was the year in between, was that the one that is the right stat that you go by, or is it this, you know, you understand what I'm trying to say? When you're tracking these things, it's like, well, was the year that they all survived, was that the outlier statistic, or was the outlier statistic that this year we lost them all? You know what I mean? It's like decide.
I usually am pretty consistent, except for the year we had the drought and I lost a lot.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how my yards have been. Have they been great? No, they haven't been great any year. But I tend to lose the same amount. It seems like I always end up about the same place. So, so that's one of those things that it's like I tend to place the blame on myself that I'm the reason that I can change things. I can't change other things necessarily at this point, right? I can't change necessarily the virus levels in my colonies and stuff like that. There's things I can do to maybe improve it, but there's not much that can be done at this point. I mean, evidently, you know, we've talked about oxalic acid and things in the past, and they're all great. They all do something, but they're not doing enough, you know, and there's just not a good there's just not a good thing on the market right now that's 100%, right? There's nothing that's going to make your colonies bulletproof. And I think the further I get into this, I'm noticing that more, right? And generally the people that have the least losses seem to be the ones that have the least colonies, right? They've got less workload on themselves, and maybe it's less expensive to treat 4 colonies as compared to 40, as compared to 400 or more. So I may be totally full of crap on that, guys. I'm just speaking, you know, what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking. It's just so hard to predict. And then you know, you got the bees in the trees that have been there for 5 years, and it's like, well, what are they doing? They haven't been treated, you know, and they're still making it, and they haven't had all these nifty vaporizations, and
they're not all stuck to your sleeve.
Yeah, they're not all stuck ass first on my sleeves.
I only use oxalic acid. So.
Well, my
But
mentor.
I also don't have the brood period you have. It's a whole different setup.
My mentor, when I first started, I believe they said you should do it once a week for 3 weeks, right? The vaporization, and that has morphed over the past 6 years. And he said, "Yeah, I'm just going to treat them once a month." He treats them once a month, every month of the year, and then in the winter he does it once a week for 3 weeks, right? So he's constantly knocking them back. Now, I will say, he's not a honey producer. He's not in beekeeping to produce honey. He produces nukes, right? So he's not worried about treating during honey and all those things, because that's not his goal in beekeeping. But it's just a different perspective. And I mean, he keeps bees. He doesn't usually buy bees. And that, that's been pretty much his strategy. But I've noticed since I started beekeeping, going out there, his number of colonies has also dwindled, for what I think a variety of reasons. But it's his bees and he does what he wants to do, and that's that's the same as anybody. But to me, he's doing exactly what I was doing, because I learned from him, right? The stuff that I started doing, like walk away splits, constantly having to rob resources. So, well, that queen didn't take, let me drop another frame of resources in there to try to make queens, right? So it's just a constant cycle, and the bees don't really build up. And I love him to death. He's one of my best friends out here. and I said, yeah, they're not very mean in a nuke, but boy, when they get double deeps, they get kind of feisty. So Sam's doing good. Last time I spoke to him, I ran into him at the grocery store. He was doing pretty well, and he's an older guy, so he's he does bees to give him something to do during the day, in between like VA visits and stuff like that. He goes out and does his thing, and he enjoys it. And he sells a couple nukes, and he was selling upwards to 200 nukes when I first started. I don't think he's anywhere near that now, but he was selling. That was his whole business model. It's just selling nukes, and he does good at it. And it's just, for me, I think the hardest part about beekeeping, at least my beekeeping business, if you will, is determining what's the end goal. What am I trying to achieve, right? What am I trying to be, a honey producer? Well, then my problem is I don't have the land to be a full-on honey producer like an Ian Stepler, right? I can't just drop 1,500 colonies out there like that. And even if I did, I'd probably make 7,500 pounds as compared to the bajillions of pounds they make in Canada. But it's one of those things. Well, are you a nuke producer? Are you a queen producer? Are you or a honey producer, right? It's like, I don't know. I just kind of do whatever, right? If somebody needs a nuke, okay, come get one. I'll make a nuke for you. And there you go, So I don't know. Oh yeah, Sam is great. Only thing is, when he does his videos, he puts that tripod up there and he pushes go, and then he just does. It doesn't go, like, the camera doesn't go with him. If he's got to run off and get something, the camera just keeps running, and then he comes back, right? He's not an editor, that's for sure. He doesn't upload the videos and edit them to cut time out. It just runs, kind of like mine. Only I just carry the camera with me and don't edit too much. Yeah, you can make a lot of honey with 30 production colonies. We typically 50 pounds here, man. That's about it. What we seem to be getting. Last year was a little bit better. So maybe this year will be better because I don't have to draw out as much comb. I've got more drawn comb. Every year it's getting better. So that's a
Your
good
bees
thing.
are spread out a little further.
Yep. They can spread out a little bit further and get things going. I've been watching all these guys down in Louisiana doing their splits and everything. That's gonna come up real soon for me. Really soon. I was contemplating doing that today, and because of the weather, I didn't. So maybe later in the week I'm gonna do some splits, but I'm gonna do it more like I have in the past, right? Just pull up some frames over a queen excluder, shake the bees down, let the bees come back up onto the frames, and then move the whole frame with the nurse bees. And hopefully that does what I need. But I really want to see, I would like to see some drones on the frames before I do that, right? Because then the timing of any queen they make may come back. If I don't see any drones, probably not very likely they're going to get mated and come back. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, right now? Depends where you're at. Here, I mean, they're drawing some frames out, but they're not doing it in any kind of pace, right? They're just kind of working on it slowly. So you were sanding and painting today. When will you be able to really start getting in your bees up there? Typically, I know it changes probably year to year, but April, May.
You mean actually going through combs?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably middle of April, maybe.
You still got a month or so left, a little over a month.
Still got quite a bit of snow on the ground, and we get some big storms March and April. Doesn't last long though.
Sometimes we get cold snaps that kind of pop up on us. Let me see. Right now it's 60 degrees with a wind advisory and rain advisory, but I think it's going to possibly get back nice. Of course, it's not wanting to pop up here, so I can say what it is. Let's try it again. Only Microsoft is not wanting to work. But yeah, it was a little bit warmer today, almost 70 degrees.
So we had a high of 44 today.
So another 5 or 6 degrees if their entrances are blocked, they'll get out and start making yellow snow.
They're all out dotting the tops of the hives. They got out a few times.
I get cool period. That's true, Doug. 100% correct with that. We get cool periods. Oh, well, I'll tell you what. You will probably like that, Tiny Creek. You will probably like that for sure. So it's getting to the point now. Oh, is it gonna come up? Nope, still not coming up for some reason. Anyway, it's not letting me see the weather, but we've been in the 60s to 70s. So we'll see how that ends up. Let's see. Close that back down. Let me see. I'm trying to read some of the chats. Tiny Creek, where are you located? Because I know they're having some fires in western North Carolina, and we had some earlier in the week in Myrtle Beach. down by the beach here that were burning up pretty good. Upstate South Carolina. Okay. Well, we're praying for you, man. Hopefully that that doesn't get over to where you're at. Yeah, so we got fires going on around here too. So it's kind of crazy, everything that's going on. Hive stand materials worse than cables. Yeah, I don't know if that's possible, Westcliff. John, getting stuff to the house, it's been challenging. What'd you average per hive last year? I see him talking about it in the chat.
Who, me?
Yes, sir.
We had a drought. I don't think I made 10 pounds.
Really? Didn't make that much honey?
No, I was 75% off from the year before with 20 more hives.
I was editing some video for Brad from the Manitoba conference, and Bob Binney said one year he didn't make any honey when he was in Georgia, not at all, and that's what stimulated him to start getting into the honey packing business. And once he saw that, he could count on his friends to deliver honey, or for him to get the honey and fill the need of the people around where he's at, then it just took off. And I believe he said, don't quote me on this, because when the video drops, you can see it for yourself. But I believe he said his honey sales account for 22% of his business at where he's at now. So his store, honey sales. So that's pretty good. Brian C says he has drones walking on the frames in 2 of his colonies. I've got several drone cells. I might by the end of this week have some walking as well. And I saw an empty queen cup the last time I was in there, so it's definitely something I got to keep an eye on. Because I also see down in Alabama they're starting to get swarms taken to the air, and I can't afford that this year. I can't afford that to happen, so I got to get out there and be proactive.
Do you put swarm traps up, Bob?
I've got a couple around the property, and a lot of old equipment with comb in it, right? So I'll walk around some and bait them up.
You should do a couple over at your new yard too.
Yeah, I need to. Well, I've got some old comb out there, so I just need to take the spray out there and spray some boxes and see if it'll attract them back to them. I was really expecting to be working in about, another 2 weeks from today, but apparently that's not happening. So Tiny Creek says they have drones. Yeah, I've got about 4 really good colonies right now that I need to go back through and check to make sure, especially since I manipulated the boxes and put more comb on to see what they're doing in there. But the weather has not played favorably lately, so we'll have to take that into consideration. Boy, it's kind of a quiet night tonight. Not that many people want. There's Charlie coming in. I don't see his camera yet. Maybe he's setting down his popcorn to come in. Charlie, I don't see any camera. I'll add him too.
There he is.
Maybe it's just not showing up in the thing here.
I don't know.
Well, I see you on my YouTube, but I don't see you in the StreamYard. That's weird.
So I see him in the StreamYard. I didn't see him in the
I don't
YouTube.
see him at all. It could just be my internet here. So hopefully my internet doesn't die out on me.
Yeah, he's not showing up on
StreamYard?
no, he's showing up in the StreamYard. He hasn't. There's quite a lag at my house between StreamYard and Beekeep. There he is.
You don't see me now?
I see you now. I saw you on my YouTube channel running over here before I saw you in here.
I don't know. I was setting up my
Weird.
screening here and all that stuff.
Hey Charlie, how you doing?
All right. Busy.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, James McNally.
James McNally. Where's he at? Oh, I see him. See him in there.
I don't know, busy at work and a bunch of headaches there with the EPA.
EPA.
Well, the Maryland Department of Environment.
What do they come up and make sure you're not doing
Please.
any things illegal to trees? Like
No, it's what do you call it? Runoff.
Oh, I gotcha.
And the water's got too much acid in it or something or another, from the sawdust. And, he's having a hyper fit because if behind that camper there, you can see in my video, there's a mulch pile there. Well, there's another mulch pile bigger than that now. I've been hauling mulch all day that get everything away from the mill, away from where this water, the surface water goes. And
right.
it's just, one damn thing after another. Hey, Tiny Creek. I don't know. We'll see what we can get done. Between that and the darn bee clubs, getting tired of that and all that stuff.
Yeah, Doug, I might do that too. I'm just trying to see if my weak ones are they weak because of the queen, or are they weak because they're just depleted right now, no numbers. So I don't want to throw good resources after a bad queen. So that's one thing that what do you guys use to determine if you're throwing good resources after a bad queen, or are you building them up? You know what I mean? So like if I go out to my strong colony and get a frame of brood and put it in a weak colony, am I just helping that colony limp along, or is it actually going to kick off and start going? That's kind of my moral dilemma on what to how to figure that out, because in the past I have just grabbed resources and kept tossing them at colonies, and it turns out that the queen was crap anyway, and it just didn't do.
Yeah, that's the thing I would say is you're gonna have to. This is like myself. After that queen lawsuit last year, it's just another thing that as a beekeeper you got to make sure you pay attention to.
Well, I definitely have.
Hey, Randy.
Strong colonies and not strong colonies, right? I mean,
check your brood pattern and check the amount of bees. If she's got a good brood pattern that amounts to what she's got for bees, you add another frame in. If she's got a spotty, crappy brood pattern and plenty of bees, then just let her stay there till you can do something with her.
Or move her off to a nuke and make her a zombie, right?
Well, it's like myself. I got through these hives in my last video here Saturday. And there's a couple of them in there that are just not really performing all that wonderful. And, they're definitely, all of them are going to get replaced this year. But as soon as I can replace them, especially the ones that I'm going to take notes on that are, not getting through the winter very well, they're out of there. And all that, along with the other ones. So keep it where I'm replacing every other year. Hopefully that'll it'll be a big experiment. It only takes 2 or 3 years to figure it all out.
Right. Doug says they always give them a frame or two, and then if that doesn't work, then they requeen them. Well, drive carefully to work, James. It's just that time of year where I've got a lot of stuff going on. It seems like I have a lot of stuff going on. No job at the moment, apparently. So I mean, that's a thing. But
what they do, say forget about it.
No, they just kick the can down the road and making me wait 2 more weeks to start, unless somebody doesn't show up for this class. Then, but the thing is, I've already waited 6 weeks, right? Once I got the job, I kind of stopped looking for other jobs, where I should have just kept looking for jobs, and maybe there would have been either a better opportunity or something that started sooner.
Yeah. All I can say is the way things are going here at the mill, grab anything you can get a hold of. Things are not looking good at all.
And I did ask her. I said, "So does this mean I don't have a job?" "Oh, no. You're hired. You just got to be in the next class." Okay. But I guess that makes me number 1 for the next class, so I don't have to worry about it in 2 weeks. But maybe that extra 2 weeks will let me get these bees lined up the way I need to get them, But are you going to split it all, or are you trying to stay right where you're at now, Charlie?
The way the numbers that I'm doing right now is I'm going to have 16 production hives and 12 nukes. I got 15. Well, I Sunday, it was cold. It was going to be cold Sunday and Monday, which it was. Today it got up around 55 or 60. And so I moved a nuke Sunday morning. It was around 27 degrees or 30 maybe, with a hand truck, and put it in the place of that dead out that I had here a week or 2 ago, and where it was 10 frame. It was a nuke I bought in last spring, and it built up, and then it took a crap. The only thing I can say is queen just wasn't no damn good. You can make a brand new queen this year and still be no damn good. That's just the way things are. And so I put that nuke in that spot. And today I went up there after, I guess right before lunch maybe. And it was screened off so they couldn't get out. I had to just, you put a V, and you put it in there so they can't get out. And that Sunday, I guess it was, I had a branch out here at the pine trees fall off. So I went out there and broke off a couple of small branches with a lot of leaves on there, or needles. And then I put that in front of it to make it kind of camouflaged. It held it with a block there. And then I went out there today and I pulled that screening out of there. And that way they let them fly. But hey, something's different here. All these needles are in our way.
Right.
And so they would reorientate, and that seems to has happened. And then I went back out there this evening while it was cool. Sun was starting to go down a little bit. And I have a mouse guard thing that's got like dental molding in there. I slipped that back in there, but I still kept the pine branches in front of it. So that keeps those, they'll re-inventory to that spot. So I got a bunch of holes to fill up for nukes for next spring after I start, getting my queen operation up and running again. And we'll see how there's a behind me there next to that yellow hive there. It's got an open spot. There's a nuke sitting there now. It was flying pretty good. The other ones were flying a little bit stronger than that one, but we'll see how it goes. But like I say, I plan to requeen everything. So It just, it's just one of them things. You got to remember one thing: you're going to lose hives, and every year,
Thank you, Steve.
if you keep them down, that's great, Steve. You're going to lose hives. Just expect it, but try to keep it to a minimum.
Right.
And, for me, requeening every couple of years is a new process. So it's a learning process for me. And I want to, my thing now I'm thinking about is that I was going to use April Guard in July. Well, I was like, okay, I was kind of wanting to requeen in July after the honey flow. And that means I can't really do that type of a mite treatment at that time. So I don't know. It just I could, if I get the treatment done in July, and then you got August, then you would put the bees and the queens in August, and then September I normally do another mite treatment. So maybe I'll have to skip again this year in August, which I don't normally do, and make sure those queens get accepted.
Right.
And I'll have them in a 2-frame mating box already laying, knowing that, I'm not putting cells in, I'm not putting virgins in, I'm going to put a proven queen in that's brand new. So that's my game plan. We'll get it. Hopefully it'll go all through. Hopefully I'll make a lot of honey. Who's got a max amp bottling tank with a 1 drip valve? Mike, you got that?
Yeah, it's a slow drip.
Huh?
Yeah, I got the 1 drip valve.
I'm having issues of pulling the handle down. It's 2 years old. I put
Getting hard to pull?
Yeah, I can't. It's so damn stiff.
Do you have any of the grease you use in the extractor?
Yeah, the food grade grease. Now, how do you grease that by?
All right, what you do is put like a 1 gallon jar under it, and put a little bit on your finger, and just pull it all the way down, and grease that shaft up and down, and and then just pour your honey back.
When you pull it down and it pulls the shaft up out of the top,
grease that shaft.
Put the grease around there.
Yeah.
Is that how you grease it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, the one thing I did do here, I got a Stanley hot air heater. I put it on my toolbox, and I put that thing, I'm blowing hot air on there for about an hour. I thought it was crystallized. And it went for a while there. I mean, I was, well, this is really nice. It's working. But I will have to say this. I'll back my story back up. I did see like a film. It looked like it wasn't white. It looked like grease coming up out of that brass little area.
When you heated it?
No, not when I heated it. When I started seeing there was a problem, about, getting sticky. Then it got to the point where, once the hot honey went through it, it get a little bit easier, pulling the handle.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where it just stuck. So I
might have crystallized honey in there.
Well, that's what I figured.
Put some grease in there and see if
that. So I took and I put that heater on that thing. Like today, it was out there probably for a good hour and a half. And that thing was it started working like it normally would. But as time progressed, it got stickier. Got a little bit more stickier and stickier. So I've been selling the snot out of honey here lately. And I got the honey below the temperature gauge that you see sticking out the wall tonight. So I'm going to try to drain it down pretty low. So,
for starters, just put a big jar under it. And
that, and I got to get some, I don't have any grease, so I'm going to have to get some grease.
Yeah.
I am having internet issues for some reason. Like when I waved at you, Roy, you had just showed up. So it's got to be on my end. Brian, the 6th through the 8th is the North Carolina, South Carolina conference. So day after tomorrow is the initial registration. I didn't mean to cut you guys off, but I wanted everybody to know that there's something wonky with my internet. So if for some reason I get cut off or something, that's why. Sorry.
Hey, Roy.
Hello.
Too, Roy.
Hey, I got my earphones in, so can you guys hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, we hear
you're
you fine.
loud.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mike, I run those 4/4s like you do.
Yeah.
I made a bottom board and I was thinking about putting just the U-clip on there and running the two brood boxes of the base next to it. I never pulled the center board on that 10 frame in there. You think that'd win it all right? Think there'd be enough?
I have them 4x4, and I pull the center thing and bring them down to one queen on each side.
Yeah.
And some of mine are 4 boxes tall now.
Yeah. I was looking at it and thinking if I could just set, an 8-inch box on one side of the clip and an 8-inch box on the other as the base. You think I'd be warm enough in the winter with that 1.5 inch wood?
You're talking the mini mating nukes or
the Michael Palmer 4/4 broods.
Oh yeah, you can just use the only reason I use the I winter them over 3 high in those. So they're 4/4/4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you are. I've got a good winter.
Yeah, I do too. I'm in northern Michigan.
And
in there, I still got 1.5 feet of snow on the ground yet.
Yeah, well, that's good for them, keeping them nice and insulated.
Yeah, they were buried 2 weeks ago, so in there. I love and hate those things, but I started using the box joint like you were talking about.
I don't use box joints anymore.
No, not box joint.
Oh, the lap joint.
The lap joint.
A lot easier.
Boy, is that slick.
Yeah, and what I do you paint yours or do you have them dipped?
I have to paint.
I use what is it? It's been made by Bullseye. It's an alcohol base. It's got shellac in it. It's for stain killing knots. I put it on that exposed end grain before I paint, so it seals that up really well.
Bins, okay.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Bin. It's begins with a Z.
Zinzer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what it's Zinzer? What is it called? Zinzer.
They have bin. This is an alcohol-based bin. It's for priming knots, and like if you had a ceiling with a water leak and it had the stain in it,
yeah,
you would paint that stain so it would keep bleeding through your white paint.
And it seals it up.
Yeah, it's a lot thinner. $70 a gallon now. Used to be. You used to buy it for 20.
I was going to ask you. Shoot. The joint you were talking about, is that a rabbit joint or something else?
Yeah, just a rabbit joint.
Yeah, rabbit joint.
I used to build box joints. I found that was a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a pain to assemble.
Yeah, the rabbit joint.
Yeah.
Got them wrong here, but
yeah.
I tore into 4 pieces of scrap the other day and I was done in a heartbeat. So
yeah, you could also come up with some joint, or there's some other types of joinery cutters that I don't know, they slide in or something like that. You could go that way too. Depends on how much you want to do, I guess. So, but
well, you just run them through that 4-sided planer, make them look pretty jolly.
I can do that.
You guys got all the tools.
So anyway, back, Mike, just pull that handle up and that piston comes up. put the
Yeah.
grease on it, and because tonight I got it. Once I,
Well, you get
it
the big
seemed like-
jug on there. Just go up and down and get it going good.
well, it seemed like once I got up about that far up and got it up on the bottom end of that shaft, then it seemed to move. It wasn't sticky.
Yeah.
But, and I know, I mean, Doug says about crystals. That's what I kind of thought it was too. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you got fluid coming out that's hot or warm, and you've heated that stainless barrel,
Well, hopefully you using your
all
heat gun,
that
didn't need to-
crystallization in there should be, all it is a barrel. It's got a spring around it. Underneath there is a O-ring, I think it is, that just goes down there and seals. So
Does you have a beekeeping store near you?
no, not really.
Go on the
I'll
Maxon.
have to call my friend up. He's a
If you
man
go
like,
on the Maxon site, because you've got a Maxon,
yeah.
and just that you can look at the tube that I use, because that's where I got it from.
You mean your grease? You mean?
Yeah, it's all it is
Food safe grease.
food safe grease.
Right.
This one little tube will last you a lifetime.
That's what I kind
Yeah, I got a little tin for my meat saw.
That
Oh, I got a little tin of that for my meat saw.
Yeah, I just bought a couple new cameras, so maybe I'll start videoing.
Good. I'll be waiting with bells on, waiting to see him.
I got I had a drone for a year. I finally took it out the other day. Flew over my bee yard with it.
Been waiting to see if I get a call about the show, and I haven't yet, so have to see. Day after tomorrow, it'll be a last minute call, probably. Hey, what time are you going to be here? I'm leaving now.
How far is it from you?
2.5 hours or so. It's not terrible. Not terrible. It's down. It's east of Charlotte this year. In, I want to say Union. It's Union County. It's Monroe, North Carolina. March 6th through the 8th. Union County Agriculture Center. Oh, what happened to Roy? I didn't do it. Wasn't my fault that time. I don't think. Hey, Robert. Good to see you.
So, Bob, now with your dead outs, do you got to put something to keep the moss out of it? I don't know how your season, but I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about it right now. The ones that died out before winter, I already treated. So, and they've been outside airing out.
Yeah.
And so I should be able to just put them right on. At least I have been putting them right on. So I guess we'll see see how they're doing. They've been bringing in pollen. We've got a few things like I saw Bradford pear tree was bloomed up. So they're probably getting pollen and stuff off of that. It's just a little bit early because we sometimes in April we'll get that real cold. Well, real cold for us, a cold snap for us for that time of year. Not cold to Doug at all. Doug would go out in boxers probably in our weather.
Long sleeve T-shirt weather.
Yeah, long sleeve T-shirt and shorts. I'm wearing short pants right now, but it's I'm not brave enough to do it with the bees anymore. When I first started, man, I was out there with just a veil and shorts and everything too. And then I learned my lesson the hard way. It's a lot harder to get in a suit when you're getting stung.
I
You're trying to throw it on.
had a friend bring a hive over to my house. You know, I've got a lot of gardens and stuff, and the next spring I was just fascinated with it. Next spring he says, "You want to split?" Sure, I guess. And then I went and bought some stuff off Craigslist, caught 3 swarms in 3 weeks from out in amongst places, and next thing you know, I had 4 hives, and
And
it's gone downhill since.
just keep the addiction going.
Yeah.
140 hives later, you're like, I need to split these. Let me make another 140 boxes and
I don't really.
100 frames. And
I pull brood now and make nukes. I don't really split. I don't do walkaways anymore.
just add a cell to them and let them go.
Or buy a queen if it's. We almost have to buy queens. Then I can replace them afterwards.
Right. Well, there's several places. Even Larimore was telling me his guy has 800 extra this week, but I'm not ready for them. I don't have the drones to get the queens mated. So I might could get a couple mated, but we'll see after this next inspection what we've got going on.
You're better off waiting a week or two and making sure.
Yeah.
You're throwing money at nothing.
And I don't have it right now, so it's going to be a tough season. Tough season, especially now waiting an extra 2 weeks to go into work. Where I would be starting when I would be getting my first paycheck, right? Now it's like starting a month behind. So let me see. Yeah, I've probably got I had a couple that had drone cells in them. They may have drones in them right now, but they didn't last time I checked them. Let me see. Do you guys get lizards where you're at on your hives? We get these little lizards that just hang out on the outside. I think they're just snatching up bees when they get hungry.
We got salamanders, but they're mostly ground. They can't climb. They're usually
I need to set up my booth outside. If I get any weather that'll play nice, you get a warm day, you go out and work your bees. And then if it's cold, then nobody stops. So I have sold some honey, though. People do still just drive up and buy honey. So fence lizards, yep. And they will just get them. I see people now on Facebook, they're posting, oh, dragonflies, plant stuff for the dragonflies. No, don't, because they kill my bees. They eat mosquitoes. Yeah, they eat my honeybees too. So don't do that.
It's all right for them to eat the honeybee. It's eating the queen coming back from the mating flight.
That's the devastating part.
Yeah, you can replace a few workers.
That's the thing. They don't care, right? If they can get it, they eat it. Let's see. Yeah, we get a lot of dragonflies here. I think it's because of my bees. I noticed a lot more different things that come around since I have bees that I never noticed before, or it could be that I'm just looking more, right? Because I go up to a tree that's blooming or a bush that's blooming. Well, I'm looking for bees, but I see dragonflies all over the place and butterflies now that I used to never notice before, at least. Dragons can't fly. Charlie, you look tired, man.
No, I was just looking at my list thing, and that Beehive Homestead. That's shoot, can't think of his name.
But it's definitely going to be a interesting year for me beekeeping wise, just to I'm gonna definitely find some things out this year. That's for sure. Will my honey production per hive go up? I'm hoping it does. I'm betting it does, with less colonies, right? Less competition. So that's the
Yeah, Jared. Sorry, Jared.
Jared, are you going to the North Carolina conference? Brian C., are you going to the North Carolina conference this week? If so, I'm planning to. If my contact comes through like he's supposed to, we'll see. But I'm supposed to. I mean, that was the last conversation we had that I was going. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. Yeah, you're about the same distance from the conference as me then. It's like halfway between us. 2.5 hours, which it's hard to justify spending the gas money to go for me at this point. But who knows? Maybe I take some swarm lure and put it on the table. You never know. It might turn out to be a good thing.
I looked that thing up. I didn't particularly care for the show.
Yeah, it's people I haven't heard of before, right? No YouTubers, nothing like that. So it'll be different for sure.
No, I don't know the 77 restaurant down here in Ferrum.
Man, I'm not even seeing people's pictures, their YouTube pictures on StreamYard tonight. That's how bad it is on here.
What do you mean?
My connection, the little, I see flower plates and mics, but I don't see a lot of people's little pictures not showing up. And a lot of times I look at the photo and I recognize who it is right out of the gate, but I can't do that tonight for some reason. It's kind of crazy, but it is affecting me. What are you eating? Dinner? Ice cream?
Nah, it's cheesecake.
Cheesecake? Charlie always has the good eats.
I get it once a week.
You guys got anything you're going to try this year that you haven't tried in the past that you're going to try different, or pretty much going to do the same thing that you do most every year?
I'm going to try to raise 150 queens.
I'm going to do queens. I'm going to see if I can't do a starter with a queen right starter finisher, I guess you call it, or starter.
Okay. I've been looking at trying to do maybe a flyback split or something like that. I've been watching a lot of videos on it. I haven't decided yet. It's game time decision. Probably. I'll get out there and be like, why don't I just do this? And then modify it to how I want and do it that way. I really like the pulling the brood and putting it over the box.
That works really well.
Yeah, that's how I made my starter finisher even. So that's a good way to do it. Robert says, "Yep, I'm going to try not to kill all my hives."
That's a funny one.
When you do it, Bob, do you I'll pull 3 or 4 frames out of there that I want to use. Then I throw a frame of drawn comb on either side so the bees really cover those outside ones also. Or do you put a whole box on?
I usually put a whole box. Try to put a whole box on. I was watching some of the starter finisher videos, and I don't want to say the wrong person of the video I watched, because I watched so many of them, but some of those guys they'll just pull up like 5 frames in a 10 frame box and use that, right? That's their starter finisher. They just come back the next day or later on in the day and take those 5 frames out after the bees have gotten on them. So it's
Yeah, I've seen that in a couple different videos where
yeah, especially for like starter finishers, if they only need a few queens, they'll only pull up like 5 frames and use those, and put a
this guy up in British Columbia, he had, like you say, about 4 or 5 frames with a grafter in there.
yeah.
He put that down in there and he made sure he, even though there wasn't a whole bunch of frames, made sure he had a ton of nurse bees in there.
Yeah, and he concentrated those by not putting extra frames for the bees to
Yeah,
get
well,
them.
that's what was Doug from up in Saskatchewan explained to me. He says, you're manipulating to where all the bees want to be on the frames and they all want to be on them cells. So that way you got a higher percentage of success as long as you grafted good. So I'm looking at that. And I don't know. I mean, Mike, I'm looking at that where, they'll wait a day, a 24-hour, and then they'll switch the box around. And I'm thinking to myself, well, should you wait 2 days to give it or not? I don't know. So then you bring that hive, that part of the bottom box with the graft in it up to the top, put her back down in her realm, put a queen excluder in, and now you might bring some more brood up there, they say, put along with that box so the nurse bees come up there and keep finishing themselves out. But my biggest problem is like, when me and Brad and you, Bob, where we watched that video and where you could set that whole box off to the side after it hatching in 7 to 10 days. You got plenty of bees in there. Throw your graft in there and it'll, they'll finish it out in 6 days. And then I guess when you got it to that point, you keep adding brood to it, which I forget what the name of that style hive is, where I did do that with nukes, just kept adding brood to it and you kept your population up. Now, there's a lot of folks say that they get after about 2 runs, they get kind of demoralized and then you need to start making a new fresh cell builder. But I think if you have a queen and if you let them draw that cocoon out and accept those things as cells, and you swap the box around to where the queen, now the pheromones is throughout the whole hive again, I don't think they would get that way. Have you done it that way, Mike?
I kind of did mine like Ian does. I start off with 8 or 9 frames of cap brood, and
Yeah.
I shake bees into it. I don't.
Right. Well, that's
I just make just a cell builder.
I mean, it's a queenless cell builder. And then did you wait until all them bees hatched out and then you put your graft in there?
I built it a week ahead of time and then went in.
Yeah,
and
there you go. See, that was my mistake. I would say, oh, let's just make a cell builder today and put a graft in today. And then I'm like, no, it doesn't work because I don't have enough bees.
You go back in 3 days, you'll kill a bunch. And then you go back in 6 or 7 days, you'll kill a bunch more queen cells.
Yeah.
But you try to find ones with more emerging brood. The key is to get them.
Well, that's kind of hard to find sometimes. Well, and the biggest problem I had the last 3 years, I didn't do any queens because I found out one thing. You can't sell nukes and raise queens out of the same area. You got to have those resource hives in order to make that job work. Just like this year. All right. I had 2 dead outs. I had one late fall and I got a nuke here sitting there now, right where my head is. And then I had another one here just this week and I put another nuke there. I'm not worried about selling nukes. I can take my resource insurance hives, plop them in like they're supposed to be.
You can build them up and use them to make your cell builders.
And make your cell builder or, build them back up to, they'll be strong enough to make a 10 frame production honey hive. and I'm back to, and I don't have all that stress to deal about, about, oh, do I have enough nukes for everybody and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm back to that. And then I enjoy doing queens. So since I've learned that, to make that hive build up in so many days, let them hatch out and then start it that way. I'm like, okay, I get it now. I was like the one guy was on there. He was on bees, walking in the weeds or whatever it was, bees, and he's using cloak board. And I watched that, and I'm like, he was not very explanatory on how he did that. And all, I would probably be another one for Brad to figure out and tell us what to do. But I look at it this way. I got a double screen board. It's actually a Snellgrove board. It's made like a Snellgrove double screen board that I bought at Hive Life, 4 years ago or 3 years ago. And I'll just use that. I got one for a nuke and I got one for a 10 frame.
How I did it last time is I pulled the brood up into a box, a full box, let the bees come up. Then I took a double screen board, right? Double screen bottom board, spun the entrance the opposite direction and put it right back down. So the heat from the bottom was coming up on the brood, and any bees from that were too old would just fly back around to the front.
Right. But see, I got queen excluders. I can go, if I got a dozen of those nukes, and I can go over and pull brood up at let's say a couple frames of brood per hive. I got plenty of brood here. The bees will come up and cover them up. Now I can grab them frames with bees and plop it into that box.
Right.
And, make a cell builder. And, it's just, for me, it's like, these people, they put the videos out and they don't really show you, the minute details that really makes it makes or breaks the darn, whatever you're trying to do. And that's what I want to do. I want to put the darn videos out and explain why I'm doing it. That's another thing that they don't do.
Well, for me, if I'm only making 10 or 12 queens, that's really one bar. I mean, you could probably do it, I would say, in a 5-frame nuke, maybe. I don't know if 3 is.
Yeah, there's 15 cups on a bar. When I graft, I do 2 bars. I do 30 cups. And out of that, if I can get 25, then I'll have it. I got enough mating boxes for 30 queens.
But I think it's definitely, I mean, if you look at if you're doing 12 queens and have to buy them, well, if they're $40 a piece, you do the math. I mean, there can be,
I get it.
They run into expense really quick. So in my opinion, first of all, I would graft the queens just to learn how to graft. That would be the first thing. And if you want,
like I've been complaining is the fact that everybody gets hung up on the art of grafting, transferring larvae from one thing to a cup. That's the easy part. It's getting that cell builder. If you don't have that cell builder right, you ain't going to do diddly squat. And I was like, I jumped on them guys that were putting EAS up here in Maryland, and they're going to do queen rearing. I said, okay, are you going to do cell builders? No. I said, what the hell good is the damn class?
That should be like step 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my father used to say, you're doing, let's see, last things first instead of first things first. The first thing is learn how to get the cell builder up and running, then do your grafting.
And I would suggest always graft more queens than you need. I've had the first round, right? Rogue Virgin. Found that, right? That was my first lesson.
Yeah, now Jarrett there, he did a lot of walkway splits. Now I've done that over the past 3 or 4 years with my nukes. By the time I go down south with Lloyd, pick up a truckload of bees and come back, them hives has got 3 days worth of cells already started, And it's like, ain't no sense in killing them. Just let them go. And I'd have all these extra queens. And I'm like, okay, well, just make more splits and whatever. And that's what I did. And anyway, but that's the thing that's my biggest gripe about the teaching thing, I guess you'd call it. But
yeah, $45 you have to sell 1,000 queens to do 45,000 in sales. Yep. And there's more to it than that too, right? So you can't just run one cell builder and make that many queens. You have to run tons of cell builders. And
well, that guy that I
And
watched
mating nukes.
and mating nukes.
last night,
Be right back.
he had pallets, four cell builders per pallet. He had 5 pallets. So there's 20 cell builders at a clip. And he wants to do like 700 cells a week.
Right.
And you gotta have a substantial yard just in cell builders. And then
Incubator space.
Then he had what was it? He had he was putting together mating boxes, and I forget how many it was like 700 mating boxes or 1,000 mating boxes. I mean, it's now you know why when they get into queens, that's all they focus on, because that's all you have enough time to do.
Right.
And he had
got a team of people grafting and stuff for you.
Well, he had about 4 or 5 people there, where some of them were working on the bees, getting them cell builders set up and stuff like that. Had one girl grafting. They were saying about hiring somebody else to graft, and then I guess also you got to go out there and you got to place the cells in. If they're not going to incubate them, they're going to put them. Well, not incubate, not hatch them out with virgins, but drop the cells. I've seen that down in Hardeman's. I mean, the first morning of the morning, they went and harvested queens. Then they came back after lunch, and that's where they dropped the cells.
Right. It's it's a whole process. Even when I go down to Cutix, they've got what 10 Hispanic guys out there at least minimum, just shaking bees, setting up builders, harvesting queens, grafting, putting cells in the incubator, taking the virgins out and putting them back in the mating nukes, then coming back and harvesting the mating nukes and checking those. So it's there is a lot of
Hardeman's down there. When it comes to queens, that's 7 days a week for X amount of months. There's no day off for 4 or 5 months, or if not more.
Yeah, he's going to need 1,500 mating boxes to make 500 queens a week. Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot, for sure. And for me, even the worst part about it for me is not the grafting, it's not setting up the builder, it's having the resources that you got to put in the mating nukes, right? I've got a bunch of 2-frame boxes, right? So you got to have 1 frame of brood in each one of those. So that's 15 frames of brood if I'm doing 15 queens, just to put the cell or the virgin for her to maybe fly out and get mated. And then sometimes she'll fly out and get mated and come back and get killed after she lays a little bit, and then they make their own queen. So now you're a month in, right? So it is a little bit tedious sometimes. But
who's Henry Moore?
It's one of the guys down, commercial guy down by Keith down there.
Where is he? What state is that?
He's in South Carolina. He's east of me a couple hours. Well, I think he's east and a little bit north from where I'm at.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to do my thing and see how it all works out, and hopefully it will work out, and hopefully I'll have lots of honey this year.
See, I have the benefit of if I graft queens and I have extra, I can carry them over to Sam and he could use them. But that's only 4,500 in sales.
I graft once a week. I got it. Actually, if I work it out, if I graft on a Tuesday, they will be ready by Sunday. And so let's see, you got 6, that's 9. And so by the next Sunday, they'll be hatching.
Right.
So you got to plan it out that way. You could back it up to where if you graft on a Monday, they're ready to be for the incubator on Saturday, and the following Saturday is when they're hatching out. Then you can put them in your virgins in your 2-frame mating boxes. I like doing that way. I can see my virgins, and this year, the first thing I'm going to do, I will mark the virgin and see if that will work for me. That way, they're not as running at the time. They're slow. I can get them in my hand. There's no other bees around me. I can dot it. It can dry. Then walk them in. We'll see.
Yeah, Clay. Last time I talked to Sam, he was doing well. It's just been winter, and he's a disabled vet, so he's been going to the VA and whatnot as well. So
now you're talking about the VA, and they're telling you that your heart isn't affected. Why you're so tired?
That's good. And I need to go back.
You need to go to somebody else.
Well, when I get some civilian insurance, that might be the case, but that seems to be taking forever at this point. But yeah, he seems to be doing pretty well. Let me see. Let me see. Sells them at 28 days. That's yeah, he made a couple videos recently. I don't know, honestly, he's lost bees this year too. And I've talked to him in the past, and this is my opinion, is he over splits, and it's because he's doing a lot of walkaways and cutting cells and trying to make nukes to sell nukes. But the problem is when you do that, you're also robbing a lot of resources from that mother colony, and it takes some time to build up, right? And if the queen comes back, well, then he goes back to that mother colony and takes another frame of eggs. So that initial colony is constantly dwindling. He's got a few of them that end up building up okay, but over time, it just is a drain on his mother colonies that he's pulling these bees from to do walkaways to make nukes to sell. So, and because of the way he does it, it's not like he has a nuke pickup day and you come and, okay, all your nukes are ready today, and then he's done. It's a constant, okay, I can do 5 today. You can come get them Saturday. And then the next person has to wait till the next time they're ready. And the next person has to wait till the next time ready. So there's never, I'm guilty of oversplitting. That's how I know. It's just after time, and I know where he started from when I was starting and where he is now through losses and everything else. It's been kind of difficult for him. So I get it. I've definitely I definitely have been oversplit happy in the past with mine. Sometimes it's out of necessity, like 25 queens coming late in the season that I don't have nukes set up for. And sometimes it's just because I'm trying to grow too fast. So again, it's about knowing what your goal is and where you want to be, right? Yep. But one thing I noticed, both of my 5-frame nukes that I overwintered, they made it. Neither one of them died. So I don't know if it's something to do with the 5-frame nuke or the fact that they're in tighter or what, but both of them seem to have done good. And I apologize again about my internet tonight, guys. I don't know if they can tell on the stream or not, but I can definitely tell. Let's see. Can definitely tell. Well, we could make it a short stream tonight. We've been going an hour and 37 minutes or so. And call it an evening. Since there's so much chat going on in our chat, Charlie's reading chat boxes.
I'm just reading.
And my internet's jacked up, which is the main reason. But I will be live again next Tuesday night. And Charlie will be live on Friday night.
Yeah.
And Mike will be live tomorrow night.
Well,
putting you on the spot. But no, that's the joke. Mike never said he was going to be live tomorrow night. But I'm
hoping to be alive.
Me too. That's what I'm hoping. Another day passes that I can be blessed to wake up and go back to sleep. But but yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with my schedule on my stream. It might have to shift later while I'm in training, but we'll have to play that by ear. But either way, I'll put a post out or something letting people know if anything's got to change. But I appreciate you, Steve. Appreciate the super chat for sure. I just want to say that again. Helps keep the lights on around here, and we'll see you guys on the next stream. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Charlie, you gonna say bye?
Bye. I was just reading there where Dolly Parton's husband died.
Well, I know I've clicked the end stream twice now.
It's still running.
Yeah, it says I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. So this might just be a 24-hour stream where you're looking at nothing. It's not letting me end out.
I don't know.
Don't know. We'll just sit here. Having trouble connecting? Please check your internet connection. There is no check to the internet connection. Thanks, Robert. Let's see. Maybe I just have too many tabs open. I don't know. But it's acting wonky. I actually have decent internet. Now's your chance, Charlie. Dolly's available.
Oh, yeah. I met her one time. Way back when.
Well, apparently, I'm going to try to refresh this. I don't know if it's going to work or what. Let's see. I'll probably get kicked out and have to come back myself. Or maybe it won't do anything.
Yep, there he goes. We're still live.
Yeah.
Maybe she is a sucker. I seen her at a little honky tonk place years and years ago. She was good. That's the Big Mike chat.
Yeah.
Welcome. I wonder if Bob can get back in.
I don't know. My hottest thing is, I need 2 screens. See, if I go to the YouTube screen, Bob's still in the chat.
Is he?
Yeah, there's a big lag here.
Yeah, I see it. Well, that
So
one's
YouTube
YouTube right now is it's locked up.
It's probably because I think Trump's live streaming. There's probably a lot of people on tonight.
They're all stopped chit chatting. I think we must be stopped or something.
I don't know.
No, it's still running. I don't know, Mike.
Huh. It's funny.
Why don't you come on in, Clay? Of course, now Bob's not here. He can't come in anyway. So, oh well. Wonder if he'll figure out how to get in. He's probably his internet screwed up. So anyway, well, I think I'm gonna log out, guys. I'm tired and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, Mikey, we'll catch you later. I'm not going to be on tomorrow night. I got a board meeting to go to, which is no fun.
Who's tomorrow night? Nancy?
Wednesday night. Oh, Nancy, yeah, Nancy.
She starts
And
early.
she starts at 6:30.
Yeah.
I don't know. She likes to go to bed early, I think. She always does, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't get home usually till after that.
Yeah. I got a meeting at 7 and it's going to be a pain.
Oh, tomorrow night?
Huh?
Yeah, I got a doctor's appointment at 7:45 in the morning, half hour from here. So
I hope things
probably
go
just as
well.
well. The other night when I was on Joey's, everybody left. Joey left it on, and who was it? Guy that made Matt made the fondant.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, we stayed on until 1:45 in the morning.
Jesus. Nah, forget that. All right, I'm checking out. We'll see you later,
All right.
buddy.
I'll talk to you later, Charlie. Have a good evening.
Thanks for the advice on that what Max Ant thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can take a picture of it. It's
I
at
already looked at it online. It's $10.
Yeah.
I see they came off of their heater for $200 instead of $250.
What heater is that?
It wraps around that valve, keeps it hot and crystallizing. But I got that thing out there is, if I know I'm going to bottle, I'll go out there like that, let's say 2 or 3 hours before I come in for the day, and I'll let it sit there and blow hot air on it. It won't hurt it any. I think I need to grease it.
No, what the one I got had sat for a long time, and it was really tough. And I put the grease on it; it was fine.
Okay, that's probably what the problem is. I seen some grease coming up out of there's a brass bushing there, and I'm figuring maybe it's sticky or whatever.
Well, maybe the heat gun warmed it up, so it moved again.
Yeah, right. All right, we'll see y'all later.
All right. Talk to you later, Charlie. Yep, it's just me, and I'm saying goodnight to everyone.